I saw the final Hunger Games movie last night, Mockingjay Part Deuce. It was fantastic. I loved everything about it. It actually surprisingly stayed true to the book, which, if you've seen any book turn movie, it's hit or miss whether or not they're going to stay true to the book. A lot of times they take out a lot of story elements just to kind of either save time or just cause. Like, for instance, like the last Maze Runner movie was nothing like the book at all, and I kind of hated it because of that. It wasn't a terrible movie. It just, you know, didn't follow the book at all, and I didn't know why they changed everything about it. But Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 stays really true to the book, like surprisingly so. Even some parts that I wanted them to change, like if you've read the book, and this is going to be a spoiler for you, Finnick dies, and that's kind of a sad, emotional thing in the movie. But they keep the good, the bad, and the great stuff in there as well. So it was a fantastic film, and I'm kind of sad to see the movie go overall. One thing that I found really surprising in this film was that it had a lot of like scary movie, thriller, horror type elements in it. While they're basically in the entire movie, Katniss Everdeen is trying to take on the Capitol. They're trying to invade the Capitol and get to President Snow so they can assassinate him and kind of end the entire war. What ends up happening is they end up getting hunted throughout the entire, or at least most of the movie. And what's interesting is there's a lot of parts where, now I guess how do I put this? When I say it had horror elements, even down to the part where when I go see scary movies, and I hate scary movies. I don't like I jump too easily, and I don't like the suspense. But in every horror movie I've ever seen, there's always one scene where the main character is, like they're clearly, they're clearly in danger. But they decide, hey, let me go down this dark alley all by myself where there's no visibility and I hear this creepy sound. And they even do that in the movie at one point. And my reaction to that in every horror movie is, why are you going down there? You should get a friend to go down there with you. Stop going down there. Son of a bitch, you know what? You deserve to die, so go ahead and die. I'm done with you. And they even had that scene in the movie for me. So I thought I was like, yeah, that's pretty much a horror film summed up for me. And it was more than that, though, because they also had a lot of, they had the love triangle again with Peta and, what's his name? Gale. It was done really well. I would say that was probably my biggest disappointment of the movie, and it wasn't even an issue with this film itself, because I kind of knew going into like with how they were doing this franchise that they don't really have as much of that element in the movies that they did in the book. And what I mean by that is, in the books, you get a lot of Katniss's kind of inner monologue about the two guys that she's having this love triangle with between Peta and Gale. And you kind of get the sense that she's very wishy-washy with her emotions and she doesn't know which one she wants to choose. And after 2 or 3 books of that, you kind of get annoyed with her character because it seems overly wishy-washy. It feels kind of manipulative in a lot of ways. So in the 3rd book, what happens is Gale and Peta, well, obviously because Peta had went through a lot of that mind control stuff and he's a little crazy, a little cuckoo. But even Gale is a little disenfranchised with Katniss's character. So they actually have conversations with her in the room where they're just basically talking about how she's kind of mean and unfair. And it's almost like they're turning on her. And I liked that in the book because it kind of felt like she deserved that. They did that once in this movie, and it was kind of, again, how they did her character. You don't see a lot of that inner monologue, that wishy-washiness, so it didn't really feel as good of a payoff. That I enjoyed it either way, but I would have liked to see more of that from the book. But again, I understand they never really did that too much in the first 2 or 3 movies, so I kind of knew going in that they wouldn't do that. It was a bit of a letdown, but other than that, the movie was fantastic, and I liked the horror elements. There were some crazy, bloody deaths in this movie, so take your child, but it might not be directly for children. That's up to you if you want to, scar your child or not. You know who really surprised me in this movie was Josh Hutcherson. In the first 3 films, actually he really wasn't in the 3rd film, but the first 2 films, his character is kind of weak because he just loves Katniss, and that's all he's really there for, is to be kind of that love triangle piece of the puzzle. So his character's pretty weak, and in the books he was a lot more awesome, I guess. I mean, not crazy more awesome, but he is more awesome. But his character in this movie was done really well. He had a lot more depth. He's battling with, after the end of the Mockingjay Part 1, the capitalists kind of turn him against Katniss, and he's dealing with kind of the emotions and these fake implanted memories. He doesn't know what's real or what's imagined. And so he's dealing with, having to either love Katniss or hate her, because there's parts of him that, that were manipulated, that still thinks of her as an enemy, thinks that he has to kill her. But there's also parts of him that really recognizes that, some of his memories that he has are real, and there is some true, genuine love and affection there. And his character, just kind of seeing him battle that throughout the movie was really good. I just wish you saw more of it, because they kind of hint at it while they're in the middle of action sequences here or there, but they don't really dive too deep into what he's going through. I think a movie told from his perspective would have been pretty cool. Even though I know that's not gonna happen. Yeah, but maybe we'll get some on the Blu-ray or the DVD. I don't know. But yeah, I really liked his character in this film. I thought it was done really well. He was probably my favorite part of this movie, and that's saying a lot because it was full of really good characters and really good acting. So, and I actually like this movie better than I liked the book, and the reason for that is quite simply because I liked the ending better in the movie. They didn't actually change the ending at all. It could just be that it played off better on screen than when I remember reading it. But for me, when I read the book, it felt like it felt like Katniss' character was just kind of settling at the end of the movie, or I'm sorry, at the end of the book rather. And in the movie, they gave it a few extra scenes where they kind of develop her love with the character she ends up with, and they develop it a little better, and it just feels like a more feel good ending. And it just plays off better in on screen. So I like the ending a lot better. The movie actually follows the book very closely in both the ending and the entire film. But I did like it better as a movie than an actual book, because I remember reading the book and saying, I kind of hated the ending because it just felt like her character settled, especially after her being so wishy-washy for the first two books. So yeah, I actually liked the movie better than the final book. But this movie for me was actually the best in the entire franchise. So if you've really not been keeping up with, the Hunger Games franchise overall, the cinematic franchise, I'd recommend at least going to see this movie. I mean, you can probably just get the summary and the basics and go right into this movie and enjoy it just the same as if you watched all other three movies before this. It does a really good job of kind of summing up what everyone's going through in this final film, and it works actually pretty good as a standalone film. But it's the best of the entire franchise for me, and I recommend to go see it. Just go. It's a fantastic movie. You'll love it. If you're a fan of Hunger Games at all, whether the books or the movies, you'll like this film. So go out and see it. It's fantastic. And also, no pressure. If you feel like it, go ahead and like this video. And feel free to subscribe to our channel as well to get some more of our content. You can also visit us at madmazreviews.com, where we review movies, anime, and television. We got a lot more on there than we kind of do on our YouTube channel right now because it's still pretty new. But feel free to go there. Feel free to like us and subscribe to our channel. Look forward to seeing you next time.